Welcome to Wonderslate. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for more updates. Topic for today's video is our environment. This chapter includes introduction to ecosystem, types of ecosystem, components of ecosystem, division of consumers, food chain, food web, ozone layer, garbage disposal, types of materials in garbage, methods of waste disposal. Everything that surrounds us is environment. It includes both living, that is biotic, and non-living, that is abiotic components. Interaction between biotic and abiotic components forms an ecosystem. In an ecosystem, living components depend on each other for their food, which gives rise to food chains and food webs in nature. Human activities lead to environmental problems such as depletion of ozone layer and production of huge amount of garbage. The ecosystem is classified into two types, namely natural ecosystem and artificial ecosystem. The ecosystem which exist in nature on its own are called as natural ecosystem. For example, forest, lake, ocean comes under natural ecosystem. The ecosystem which is made by man are called artificial ecosystem. For example, crop field, aquarium, garden comes under artificial ecosystem. The main components of ecosystem are abiotic components and biotic components. The abiotic components of any ecosystem are the properties of the environment such as earth, sun, soil, atmosphere, and many more. The biotic components are the life forms that occupy a given ecosystem such as animals, plants, and organisms. Biotic components are further divided into producers, consumers, and decomposers. Producers form the base of the food web and are largest group in the ecosystem by weight, that is, biomass. All green plants, blue-green algae, and photosynthetic bacteria can produce their food using light energy called photosynthesis. Consumers are the organisms which depend on the producers either directly or indirectly for their food. Fungi and bacteria which break down, means decompose the dead plant, animals' complex compounds into the simpler one. Thus decomposers help in the replenishment of the natural resources. Consumers are living organisms in the ecosystem that get their energy from consuming other organisms. Consumers are further subdivided by what they eat, namely herbivores, carnivores, and omnivores. Herbivores are known as grass eater. For example, cow, goat, deer are grass-eating animals. Carnivores are known as flesh eater. For example, tiger, lion, fox are flesh-eating animals. Omnivores feed on both grass and flesh. For example, crow. Along with producers and decomposers, consumers are part of food chain and webs, where energy and nutrients transfer can be mapped out. Food chain refers to an arrangement of different biotic groups in a sequence of energy transfer. These biotic groups are producer, herbivores, carnivores. In a food chain, the biotic components where transfer of energy takes place is called a trophic level. The green plants capture 1% of sunlight falls on their leaves. The flow of energy is unidirectional in a food chain. There is gradual decrease in the amount of energy transfer from one trophic level to next trophic level in a food chain. Only 10% of energy is transferred to next trophic level, while 90% of energy is used by present trophic level in its life processes for digestion, growth, reproduction, etc. The concentration of harmful chemical increases with every next trophic level in a food chain. It is called biomagnification. The food chains are interconnected with each other, forming a web-like pattern, which is known as food web. There are generally high populations at lower trophic levels of an ecosystem. For example, the population of the producer is higher than the consumer carnivore. Changes in environment affect us, and our activities change the environment around us. This led to the slow degradation of environment that arose many environmental problems such as depletion of the ozone layer and waste disposal or garbage disposal. Ozone layer is a protective blanket around the earth which absorbs most of the harmful UV ultraviolet radiations of the sunlight. thus protecting living beings from many health hazards such as skin cancer, cataract, destruction of plants, etc. Ozone layer is present at higher levels of atmosphere, that is stratosphere, which is from 12 km to 50 km above the sea level. It is a deadly poison at ground level. The process of formation of ozone layer takes place by following chemical reactions. When the high-energy UV radiations break down the oxygen molecules into free oxygen atoms, these oxygen atoms then combine with oxygen molecule to form the ozone molecule. The decrease in the thickness of ozone layer over Antarctica was first observed in 1985 and was termed as ozone hole. This decrease was linked to excessive use of synthetic chemicals like chlorofluorocarbons, which are used in refrigerators, air conditioners, fire extinguishers, aerosol sprays, etc. United Nations Environment Programme UNEP succeeded in forging an agreement to stop CFC chlorofluorocarbon production at 1986 levels, that is, Kyoto Protocol, by all countries. Improvements in lifestyle have resulted in accumulation of large amounts of waste materials. Substances which can be decomposed by the action of microorganisms are called biodegradable wastes. For example, fruit and vegetable peels, cotton, jute, dung, paper, and many more. Substances which cannot be decomposed by the action of microorganisms are called non-biodegradable wastes. For example, plastic, polythenes, metals, synthetic fibers, radioactive wastes, pesticides, and many more. Microorganisms release enzymes which decompose the materials, but these enzymes are specific in their action. So, enzymes cannot decompose all the materials. Biogas plant. The biodegradable waste can be used in biogas plant to produce biogas and manure. Sewage treatment plant. In this method, the drain water can be cleaned in sewage treatment plant before adding it to rivers. Landfillings. In this method, the wastes are buried in low-lying areas and are compacted by rolling with bulldozers. Composting is a method in which organic wastes are filled in a compost pit and covered with a layer of soil. After about 3 months, garbage changes to manure. Recycling is a method in which the non-biodegradable wastes are recycled to make new items. Reuse is a conventional technique to use an item again. Example, newspaper for making envelopes. Now, we will have a quick revision of the chapter, what we have studied. In this chapter we get to know about our environment, ecosystem, components of ecosystem, food chain, food web and environmental problems. There are two types of ecosystem, namely, natural ecosystem, which exists in nature, and artificial ecosystem, which is created by man. The components of ecosystem are biotic components, that is, living things such as plants, animals, and abiotic components, that is, non-living things such as earth, sun, soil and so on. Biotic components is further divided into producers, consumers, and decomposers. Producers can produce their own food. Consumers are dependent on producers for food. Decomposers help in the replenishment of the natural resources. Consumers are further divided into three types: plant-eating animals called as herbivores, flesh-eating animals called as carnivores, and both plants and flesh-eating animals are known as omnivores. The energy transfer from producers to consumers is known as food chain. The interconnected food chains form a food web. At last we have studied about environmental problems caused by human activities, that are ozone depletion and garbage disposal. Ozone depletion is caused due to chlorofluorocarbons released by refrigerators, air conditioners, fire extinguishers. We have studied about methods of waste disposal, which helps us to reduce the garbage quantity around us. These are the topics we have studied in this video. We will see more topics further. Thank you for watching the video. If you have any suggestion for us, feel free to leave comments. If you liked the video and want to see more of it, hit the thumbs up and don't forget to click on subscribe button to get more updates of the future videos.